Good evening, and welcome to the Barefoot Bay Recreation District's Board of Trustees regular meeting for September 22nd, 2020 at Building D&E. The meeting will now come to order. As we do before each board meeting, we would like to take a moment of silence to remember all our military personnel, both past and present, who have or are still fighting to protect this great country we live in. Also, let's remember all our Barefoot Bay residents, both past and present. Also, keep in mind and our prayers all who lost their homes, personal belongings, and lives in the wildfires that are burning in parts of California, Oregon, and Washington State. And let's remember the families who were hit hard by the Hurricane Laura and Sally, losing homes, their belongings, and lives. So let's keep them all in our prayers. And now let's have a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Oh, Roger, before I go any further, I'd just like to wish you a happy belated birthday.
Thank you, Chairman.
Now, Trustee Khan, would you do the roll call, please?
Yes, Chairman Klosky.
Yes.
Trustee Mino.
Yes.
Trustee Henderson is excused. Trustee Compton is here. Trustee Loveland.
Yes.
Also with us, we have Mr. John Coffey, our district manager. We have Ms. Stephanie Brown, our district clerk. We have Mr. Cliff Reppinger, our general counsel. And in the audience, I see Mr. Matt Getz, our property services manager, and Mr. Rich Armington, our resident relations manager. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. First thing in the meeting is the approval of minutes for August 25th, 2020. I'm looking for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from August 25th, 2020.
I'll second that motion.
Randy made a motion, second by Roger. Any questions, discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Trustee Loveland, please read the Treasury report.
This is the Barefoot Bay Recreation District Treasury Report for September 22nd, 2020. Cash balances in general fund as of 9/14/20, $2,500. Operating cash in banks, MB&T, $1,918,826.97. Interest-bearing accounts, SB&A reserve, $698,584.71 for a total of $2,619,911.68. Total daily deposits and assessments received for periods between 8/18 and 9/14 of 2020. Daily deposits, $67,809.89. Assessments received, $860.32. Total deposits received, $68,670.21. Expenditures over $5,000 for period 8/18 through 9/14 of 2020. Employee health insurance, $25,029.31. Legal fees, $13,704.40. Electricity, $6,928.94. Management fees, $13,325.57. Building A renovation and lounge patio renovation, $8,531.90. Pay request For Building A renovation, $41,808.06. Golf course and field maintenance, ball field maintenance, $38,691.16. Chain link fence for the miniature golf, $12,300. Payroll for pay period 8/16, $50,434.81. Payroll taxes for 8/16, $14,561.64. Payroll for 8/30, $50,764.49. Payroll taxes for 8/30, $14,369.36. Total expenditures over $5,000, $290,449.64. I submit the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Randy. Motion to approve as read.
I would make a motion to approve the treasurer's report. Just one comment. I may just not have heard it. The first thing you read was cash balances in general fund as of 9/14. Make sure we understand that's petty cash. I didn't hear the petty cash button. I don't know if you said it or not, Randy, but
I might not have.
yeah, just people don't think that's our general
Yes.
fund cash balance. So
Okay, thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Okay, there was a discussion on it. So all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Audience participation. John, you have some letters to read?
The first one is from Miss Sherry Hall Sush. I am writing to you to ask that you take action on the COVID restrictions at the pool hours. They need to be revised by moving on to another phase, either by extending the amount of time each person can remain in the pool area before leaving and re-sanitizing the area. My mom, Bonnie Hall, living on Myrtle Drive as a full-time resident, enjoys the pool with her circle of friends and has become very frustrated with the 1.5 hour limit this time of year when there has not been anyone turned away because of the 54-person limit. This is the main only mode of exercise for some of the elderly residents in the summer. With the decrease in COVID numbers in Brevard County and Florida as a whole, it is time to move forward. Why make these people leave the area and sit in the hot sun only to sanitize, and then they come right back into the same place? This may make you as a board seem like you are doing something it isn't necessary for the pool hosts or the residents. Please consider changing the rules and making them more lenient. I am also a resident at my mom's house but spends my summers away. I would hope that you take action, and I'll be passing this along to the pool group. Many would like to continue to support you for the Board of Trustees. Please share this with your property manager and at the next trustee meeting. Next one is from Diane Newman. She would like that there be an option to have the pools open after 3 p.m. She does not feel the current hours are flexible for students and working population of Barefoot Bay. The next one is from Donna Collette. I reside at 854 Periwinkle Circle and frequenting Pool 1 about 5 days a week, roughly from 12:30 to 2. I have noticed that there are probably only 20 or so people that are utilizing the facilities at the time. Due to the restrictions the board has put in place, we then must leave the pool at 2:15 in order to allow staff for turnover of patrons, which also allows them opportunity to disinfect the premises. I'd like to make a recommendation for opening the pools with more time allotted than we currently have. Since the maximum capacity for people to attend Pool 1 is 54, including staff, I have never witnessed the capacity being reached during this time frame. My suggestion is that the pool has not reached maximum capacity at any given time. The pool hours will remain non-restricted at that time. If at any point maximum capacity is reached, the staff will then ask everyone to leave the pool area, disinfect per protocol for a 15-minute window, and allow patrons to return. This would also lessen the unnecessary additional burden on the staff. Rick Bernstein, 920 Cashew Circle. I have a thought for a solution for parking on the lawn on Hawthorne behind the old Resident Relations building, which has become such an eyesore, especially as you drive in along Midway, one of our main entrances into the bay, along with some of the other areas of the bay where residents feel they have their own private parking spots. Think about it. We cannot park on our own private lawns for a reason. Why should people be allowed to park on common area lawns? The answer is easy. Put signs up every 50 to 100 feet that say that whatever the law says. There may be a problem putting them right along the edge of the road because of the county setback requirements. If that is the case, place them 10 to 20 feet from the road's edge behind the setback, whatever that may be. Put them on the property's bay. Then in the city and state that I am from, you had to put an ordinance number on it. Or maybe in the bay you need a resolution number or change in policy manual to be able to enforce it. Even if there is not an ordinance number on it, I think most people will get the message. Put signs up that say something like this: no parking, violators will be ticketed and or towed at owner's expense, along with an ordinance number or resolution number. I don't like this because I believe it's not the once in a while people parking on the common areas during the day that is the problem. The problem is the residents that use it as their own private parking spots night after night. Or a sign that says parking by permit only, violators will be ticketed or towed at owner's expense, which may cause some issues with using the different areas for other activities that might have cars parking on the lawn like trunk or treat event, which then you could just issue a permit for such activities. Or I think the best one would be, because if there's an activity going on during the day like a parade, like the Veterans, 4th of July, Christmas parade, or even the Barefoot by the Lake Festival, the car show, or if Buddy wants to go fishing or use the handball court, whatever, on a here or there basis. The sign could read something like this: no overnight parking, violators will be ticketed and towed at owner's expense. And again, if needed, put an ordinance or resolution number on it. Maybe even put a time like 11 p.m. to 5 p.m., just like the county puts on their signs. Then to enforce the parking violation, the community watch at night could call the sheriff to have parking tickets issued to those vehicles. Then have them towed a day or two later if they're still there. I think a ticket or two would get the message across better than just towing them and then getting into a legal battle over the vehicle being towed. I believe this would be a more logical way to handle the parking violation than just having the car towed like they talked about at another BOT meeting. Richard Schwatlow, 636 Marlin Circle. I have them out of order. For phase reopening discussion, during the week of September 7th, we had to close down Building D&E, Golf Course, and CVO office for the virus stated in the peak of the week. Further temporary closures might happen. I hope this does not happen during the presidential voting. The closures of the 7th make the following letter to the board even more important. At the previous BOT meeting, I was concerned about the board following CDC guidelines concerning health concerns about the virus. The CDC suggested having an air transfer system in closed spaces like our restaurants, stores, meeting rooms, new construction, and building plans, like our lounge and the newer designed hospital-grade air conditioners. The CDC also suggested retrofitting all air systems in older buildings. The Florida school system is working on that now. I wanted the board to go on record that this is being done for the safety of everyone in the Bay, staff, workers, residents, and visitors. The board did not answer my question or give any reply. A simple yes would have sufficed. They could have given a reply. With no reply, I feel they would have said no. By me raising this question, any litigation concerning use of Bay facilities and contraction of the virus, the Bay could not use as a defense that it was unforeseen occurrence, in my opinion. If the present board does not want to go on record concerning CDC health concerns in the Bay's buildings, I hope new candidates running for the BOT board will bring this topic up at candidate debates. His second letter. This message concerns itself with present and upcoming budget agendas. You may have heard the quote, "Win the battle, lose the war." I'm not even sure we won the battle with the commissioner. The board had to agree with the commissioner to have our recreation fees increase tied to the yearly CPI, which can change every year. Several years ago, it was only 0.12%. I'm glad we have Mr. Coffey and his staff. I feel the budget will be more challenging in the years to come, and we have staff to handle it. The commissioner is in the past. The future budget is my main concern. At a previous board meeting, I asked what the ramifications would be when the minimum wage bill is enacted to eventually raise salaries to $15. How would this increase affect our recreational fees? They could have answered that question at that meeting, but they chose not to. My question to the board today is not that we are committed to staying within the CPI for our future budgets. With the increase in the minimum wage, what are the board's concerns to this ramification that could lead to a $20 a month recreation fee increase in the near future? This is a question that will affect the Bay's budget and quality of living for residents. This could be a grave problem. This meeting gives you the ability to communicate with the residents to quell concerns on the future budgets and quality of living in the Bay. To be positive communications between people is a start to understand issues. I feel there is a need for communication and a platform to use it between residents and the board that is not. We could answer the question, but we do not have to. Communication could be done with non-binding questions being asked before a meeting. If a longer answer is needed, an appointment could be set up. And I have one resident who would like us to call them before we open up the conference call system.
Go ahead.
Hello, this is Terry.
Terry, this is John Coffey. I'm with the Board of Trustees at their meeting. You are on speakerphone. Please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you for the call, John. My name is Terry Brewer. I'm a resident of Barefoot Bay at 430 Royal Turn Drive. Been here as a seasonal snowbird for 6 years and became permanent resident in January. When my wife and I decided to live permanently here, we thought we needed a bigger home. And I purchased a lot at 733 Pinewood Boulevard in May and went about the process of selecting a home to be built there and getting approvals from Barefoot Bay as well as the county. My concern is that Barefoot Bay rules are meant to be followed. I understand that, and I certainly respect that. I went to the board architectural committee, now the board, asking for a variance approval to build a garage on my lot and have that serve as the utility room. Having seen at least 24 homes in the Bay that have garages and no separate utility room on the property. And this took 2 or 3 months, and finally they did approve it. And then at the same meeting, after hearing from the manager that that was in violation of the codes, they turned around and disavowed the motion, did not approve the motion that was already approved, disapproved it, I guess, and told me that I have to resubmit my plans with a utility shed, utility room attached to the house. So I've done that. I've got their approval. I've got the county building permit now for everything, and we're just waiting on contractors to begin construction. My position is, having seen at least 24 homes with garages and no utility room visible on the property, no separate structure attached to the house or otherwise, I felt a little discriminated against, but I want to be here. I am here, so I'm doing what you asked. But I ask this of all of you. If you consider revising your code, please change that to say that a garage can serve in lieu of a utility room for those people in the future. It's going to be an ugly structure. Homes are built taller today. The roof's got to the roof of the utility shed's got to meet the roof of the house. It's not going to look pretty. The garage is going to be matching the house in structure and size, etc. It's going to mess up my lot, but I'm doing it. But in the future, I'd like to see you change your rules to say that a garage will serve in lieu of that 4x6 utility room. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate anything you can do for people in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, would you like Mr. Armington to address that or just move on to the open line?
I'll let him address that. It was explained to him and everything.
Rich Armington, Resident Relations Manager. What he's talking about was an ARC permit for a new home, and the new home has a garage. And the ARC and DOR guidelines do not say if you have a garage, you don't need a utility room. They say you need a carport and a utility room, and it's not 24 square feet, 4x6. It's 6x8, 48 square feet. After the ARC had talked about it, my discussion to them was it was a violation of the DOR to not have a shed when you have a garage, because nowhere in there does it say it. If it's something that, because the ARC right now is making changes, and at their meeting on Tuesday, they will probably verify all their changes. If this is something that you would like me to bring to them at the meeting, I'd be happy to, but I'm not sure if is it in the ARC or the DOR, Cliff, on the shed. I think it's in the DOR. It's in the DOR that you have to have a carport and a shed. So I believe that would be a DOR change, not an ARC. It's in both? Yes. No, as far as what?
Is that what the question you're asking is where that comes from?
I believe it comes from the DOR.
It does.
I think you're right.
That you have to have a carport, or an enclosed carport would be a garage, and it also says a shed.
When you're saying DOR, you mean the guidelines?
The guidelines, I'm sorry, yes, the deed of restrictions, not the DOR inspectors.
I mean, in my opinion, a carport or a garage, rather, an enclosed garage would be a satisfactory replacement or an option in lieu of having a shed. I mean,
Two things, I guess, and Roger, I agree to your point. Two things, though. I think we're addressing a point here as public participation, and we don't do any others, and all of a sudden we're addressing this point. I'm not sure that really is something we should be doing. Number two, however, if that has to be changed, that probably was put in the DOR whenever it was written, and things have changed. I, for one, would agree with Roger that I would like to see something come back to us as to how or what we would have to do to modify that or change that.
Yeah, for me, I think that I agree with you, Mike, and you know that I'm always about if we don't do one for one, don't do it for any. But I think this is a situation where the guy has a valid point. He was approved, then rescinded, right? Is that correct? It was approved previously. Did I hear him right? That he brought it before ARC. He was approved once, and then
I'm not sure. He came before the ARC a minimum of 5 times before he had all the correct paperwork.
okay.
So I wish I could tell you.
He's building
Trustee
his
Loveland.
home right now. This is
Yes.
he's
He's still
building
building
right now.
it, yes.
So this is crucial to him right now.
He's got what he needs.
It's in the DOR, though.
No, he's got what he needs. He got approval.
He is approved, but he
Yeah,
has
he
to
got-
build a shed.
He what?
He got approval.
Everything's been approved, he just needs to add a shed. He brought in the diagram.
I know
to
that, but
build
he
the
wants
shed.
to have his garage rather than adding the shed, and if he's in the
He
middle
has
of
his
building
garage,
it,
he has everything, except he had to add
I
the
understand
shed
that,
to
but
it.
he does not want to add a shed because he's building a garage. And I would suggest that this comes back to this BOT as an agenda item. The question is, are we in a timeline for this guy?
Yeah, that would be my concern too. Are we costing him unnecessarily?
I understood.
Exactly.
Come here.
I understood that he's already reconciled
This is where you get
and
it.
maybe
You
even
gotta
have
have
built
a
his
garage.
shed already, but he's asking for the future.
But
So-
that's what I'm asking. Do we know that, I wonder, or is he still in the planning
But I mean,
stage?
I think he's already built it, or he's in the process of building it. He's just looking forward and saying, hey, maybe we can improve it
He
for
did-
people in the future that come along.
It's in the
Rich, he did not-
DOR,
He did not build a garage yet.
but it's
He has not built the garage yet.
What are we?
It's in the DOR, not the ARC guidelines. If you want us, I'm not sure if, can I ask Cliff, can we go against the DOR?
Well, what is the specific question that we're asking?
Well, my specific question would be, is our DOR and our ARC guidelines in conflict with each other? And if they are in conflict with each other, we need to do something quickly to get
not.
them in line with each other. Because that would, I can't see how that would work within our community.
The deal.
I don't think they are in conflict with each other. I'm not sure what the question that was being asked was of the gentleman who was on the phone, what his situation was.
He wants to build the garage and not a utility room.
And I would,
The-
I'm sorry, Cliff, but I would agree with his point, and that's my point. The question should be, what do we do if in fact we wanted to change whatever it is that is telling him, no, you have to put up a beautiful garage, but you have to put up a little shed also. If it was me, I know, I'd be steaming.
I believe when many of these guidelines were written, they were written at a time that these homes didn't typically come with garages.
But these aren't
Exactly.
guidelines, this is the
And-
deed of restrictions.
Well, exactly, even more reason we've got to make them cohesive. But now, many of these homes come with garages, and many of these homes come with a lot more amenities. And we probably need to look at these things to be a little bit more progressive with our rulings.
I don't
But I
believe it's-
definitely think we need to be in line with both we can't have our ARC, which is vital to our approval
we-
for
we
buildings.
don't. We don't have any, we have no conflict with the DOR and the ARC.
Okay.
What we have a conflict with is that someone wants to do something that's in the DOR, doesn't want to do something that's in the DOR. I assume that the board can't, but maybe they can. I assume that the residents need to vote on this, whether he needs a shed or he doesn't.
What the DOR requires is it states that this is under this, it's under section, Article 2, Section 3A has the list of items that are required of each residential lot.
It's
and
up
it
on the screen.
says-
It's on the board.
Oh, there you go. So, one step ahead of me. And number 2 requires a garage or carport roof, including posts and fascia, fabricated of aluminum or other material. And then 3 is a utility room fabricated of aluminum or other approved materials. And it goes
So
on to
I'll-
describe the utility room. So, if the question is whether one can serve as the other, the DOR seems to require both things. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I don't think the guidelines really address one thing serving as another, and you'd probably need to have a DOR amendment to say that if you wanted to clean that up.
We tried to appease him, or we didn't, the ARC tried to appease him and told him where it says a utility building must be structurally attached by full roof to the modular coach, mobile home, or carport at eve level. They told him if he wanted to enclose the back of his garage and make it a room, they would count that because it would be at eve level. But unfortunately, he has a detached garage, and that would not be at eve level. So
Okay,
there
and that
was
was-
nothing in the DOR, without going against the DOR, there was nothing that they could do.
And I don't think anybody's complaining about what you or
No.
the committee did or anything else. I guess the question, Cliff, is very simple. So if this is something that's in the DOR, and the DOR can be changed only by doing what?
Putting it out for a
So it's a
vote
moot
of the
point
lot
right now
owners.
then, because that's something that would be in the future, a
Right.
long way down the road. If it has to go to a referendum to change that simple part in the DOR, then it's a moot point right now because we're not doing that. However, I would just like to say that I agree with him that maybe this is something we have to look at some point of putting it out there because, you know, if he builds a beautiful garage and home and he got everything set up there, is this a good thing we still want in there? I'm not sure I would want it in there. So, again, I guess we can't do anything about it now.
Now, you would have to change the DOR.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Reppinger, you're done?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't realize that it was go this far. I wouldn't have had it done. I would have had private, but go ahead. Do your...
Welcome to AT&T's teleconference service. Please enter your access code, followed by the pound sign. To join the conference as the host, press star. Otherwise, please enter your host password, followed by the pound. Please enter your billing identifier, followed by the pound sign. You entered 11109. To accept, press 1. There are 2 participants on the call, including you. You are joining your conference as the host. For a menu of available commands, press star pound.
Go ahead.
Welcome to the BOT meeting. This is John Coffey. Please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Somebody's on.
Tell me we can't hear him.
Hello, need to speak up if.
Hello, this is
Go ahead.
Terry Brewer. I'm on the phone listening.
Oh.
Go-
Oh, Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
Welcome to the BOT meeting. This is John Coffey. Please state your name and address.
Did you want to say anything to the board, sir?
What's... I can't be saying.
Last call. Anybody like to say anything to the board?
Hello, you need to speak up. If
This is Terry Brewer. May I say something again?
Yes, but please turn your TV computer down. I'm getting a lot of bad feedback through the system.
It's off.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just to clarify a couple of things that the board said after I got off my call. We have not begun construction on anything but the home. The home is there. The home is tied down. It's not skirted yet. We haven't done any concrete work. We're waiting on the final document from the county. It's been approved, but I don't have the document on my hand yet for the garage. But our intention is to build a garage and build a utility room, if that's what the rules are and that's what you say I must do. I feel a little discriminated against. There's a home being built straight down U Street from me, my location at 733 Pinewood, go down to U. There's a brand new modular home, manufactured home sitting there. There's a detached garage beside the home and behind the home. It's not connected except it's going to have a breezeway connecting the house and the garage, according to the contractor. Barefoot Bay Board Architectural Committee approved that. It's built. I was going to do the same thing, attach from my house roof a covered walkway to the garage entry. Same thing that's done on U Street. He got approval. I did not. There's at least 2 dozen homes in this bay that have garages. Some are detached, connected by a canopy roof with a detached garage, and there's some that are attached. And none of those 24 have utility rooms. That's why I'm feeling discriminated against. The Arts Committee did approve this, and so the manager said he can build it, and I'll file a violation against him, and we'll meet him in court. And one of the Art Committees said, what about those that are already built? And the manager said, well, I can take them to court if you want me to. I'm sorry if I'm sounding disrespectful. I'm not. It's just a conundrum that I fell into. Thank you for your attention again.
Does anybody else have to say anything?
Okay, General.
Yes.
Did you want to say something else?
I think he's gone. Just that we haven't built the utility room yet, and I'll build the garage first. Hoping not to build the utility room, but if I have to, I have to. Take my head or yours, I don't care.
Okay, somebody has their computer on. There's bad feedback coming through the system. Please turn off the computer or TV. Does anyone else like to speak to the board?
Yes, I'm waiting.
Please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
This is Francis Selecki, 910 U Street. I'd like to say thank you to the board and John Coffey for what they've been doing so far, about keeping us safe and everything closed the way they have. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Anything?
Okay. And
Go ahead.
I would not like to see the lounge opened in any way, the window for serving drinks, etc., because I think it will only encourage people to gather, and we're trying to keep social distancing, and people are not doing it. And they're not wearing masks, and I think this is a big part of the problem. We have 28 cases now, and I will bet that there are at least another 20 or more cases out there that have not been recorded. It's getting worse, not better. Not in the Bay anyway. And I'd just like to say thank you.
Thank you very much. Are you done?
He hung up.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to address the board?
Hello? Yes.
State your name and address, please. You have 3 minutes.
Dave Wheaton, 1477 Barefoot Circle. My question to the ARC and the DOR is, they just built a house with a garage on the corner of Pinewood and Vieira. There are homes in the Bay that have been done that, so why now is the ARC Committee trying to enforce this when it just doesn't seem to be fair to anybody? I don't know. I don't know how the other houses got to do it recently. I mean, the other house on Vieira was just finished a couple of months ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the board?
Guess okay.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. The audience participation is now closed. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, seeing as though we're still here, can we just ask a question, I guess?
Go ahead.
I mean, is that happening, Rich?
As I told you on this one here, the garage was detached from the house. this one that he wants to build at 733 Pinewood. The one on Vieira was given the option, when he put his garage up, he enclosed the back third of his garage and called that his utility room.
Yes.
But it was at eve level, part of the garage, like he could have been offered if it was an attached garage. So they said, okay, it's at eve level, there's a wall coming down, it's one building, but the inside is all enclosed with a doorway going into the
Okay, so, and that's
utility
fine.
shed.
So you're not playing favoritism or anything else here because they're following the same
No.
guidelines and the same rules.
Right.
And I think that has to be made very clear here.
Yeah, as
that
long
we are
as- yeah.
all following the
As I
same
said,
rules.
it follows the roof line as it has to.
That's fine.
At eve level. So that was one where it could be followed because it was attached fully to the house. So the ARC works with people. They don't just try to punish them. They work with them. But when it's totally against the DOR, it's another thing.
Rich, I remember you
Thank
saying,
you.
Rich, we did, the one on Vieira, that is done because there was a separation there from the garage and the thing. You
Right.
made that utility room, and just the way you stated it. And
Right,
this
it's
one
a
here,
separate, it's
he
a
said-
separate room,
and-
calling it his utility
And you
room.
did tell this person, this gentleman here on Pinewood, the same thing. You did
And-
tell him.
But then his garage is not attached to the
Right.
home. It's, so
It's not-
you
Sure.
couldn't get your eve level.
That's fine. Rules are rules, and we just want to make sure that the public listening to this understands that we are not, that you are not, or the committee is not playing favoritism with anyone. Everyone is following the same rules.
Because the garage is, this garage would not be attached to the home, it'd be separated,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and
Right,
I-
so
I
in other words, there
understand.
has to be a utility attached to the home.
So those homes that have detached garages also have, they also have a utility
Yes.
room and a carport. Is
They,
that,
they could. They could have a utility room. Almost 99% do. Very few have come to the ARC and asked them to be able to make part of their garage their utility room. This is something.
no, I'm talking about detached garages. We've got one over on, I think, Gardenia, that they just built a detached garage. I don't know if it's Gardenia. It's on one of the side streets over there.
I think it's either Oleander, Periwinkle, or Hyacinth.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that when the garage is detached, because what this guy's saying too, from what I'm hearing him say, he wants a detached garage and he wants that to serve as his garage and his utility room.
Right.
Now, do we have any homes in here where a detached garage is serving both as a garage and a utility room, and there is not a utility room or a shed attached to the house?
I don't believe that there have been, I know in the past at least 3 years there haven't been any approved, because 99% of detached garages are people that have bought the lot next door.
Right.
And they've owned the homes for probably 5 to 10 years. They are original homes that have original sheds with them. So there are no new ones that are going up like that.
Okay. Well, I do want to make sure that we are not, and we don't have any examples of discrimination at all. Because I know that you guys are not doing that, and I just want to make sure that we're not even doing it
There
accidentally.
could be some that were out there, like 5 years previous, 10 years previous. There's things we find from 2005 and 6 that are just, we pull our hair if we had any. And it's just, people don't understand that, okay, the house looks really nice. Yeah, the people have taken care of it. But what they did was in 2004, when they let them do anything, it's not something that's new. So, but the deed of restrictions and the ARC, I believe, are following the rules extremely fair, and I think that they're doing a good job with it.
And this might be a great case study for deed of restrictions in the ARC to kind of follow to see if maybe we need to make changes.
Possibly that could be, and like I said, if the garage is attached to the home, it's easy. The ARC has already made those concessions to say, okay, it's at eve level, and we've covered the DOR part of it. So, but to just say, yeah, go ahead and
Okay.
if you don't match at least something in it.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for that, Mr. Minor, that should have been, but as an agenda item, so this will be the
I
last.
understand.
This will be the last that'll happen this way. I won't So I'm sorry. Okay, thank you very much. For unfinished business now, ratification of interlocal agreement with Brevard County.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what you have before you tonight, obviously the board is familiar with the story. You approved on August 25th the proposed draft interlocal agreement. At that time, in an effort to resolve the issue related to the referendum question that had been placed on there by District 3, the draft agreement, we took it to the proposed agreement, we took it to the county attorney's office. There were some edits that were made to it. There are two edits that have some level of legal significance. The first of them was in Section 4C, and our proposed draft had the county simply calling a referendum election if the district violated the terms of the agreement. The county rewrote that to provide that if the district violates the agreement and collects unauthorized funds under the agreement, that the district should have to pay those amounts back to the county for a refund to the taxpayers of those amounts paid by the county. The provision, again, only comes into play if the district adopts and collects an assessment that's over the CPI percentage and breaches the agreement. As long as the district stays within the CPI limitation, that section will never come into play. And there's no mechanism in the draft agreement for the refund to be redistributed by Brevard County. That's an issue up to them. We did not feel that agreement, provision violated the spirit and intent of what the board had approved, in that all that's required is that the board has to live by the terms of the agreement, which clearly the board intended to do when it passed the agreement on August 25th. The other legally significant edit that the county made was in Section 12 that provided that the district specifically waived the right to challenge the validity of the agreement. Because we didn't intend to do that, that I did not believe that went against the spirit and intent of what the board approved on the 25th. It's important to note that provision doesn't prevent the district from renegotiating the agreement at a future date if it becomes necessary to do that, or if the district seems fit to go ask for that. So with that being said, those two things, those two significant changes being made, some other non-substantive technical edits being made, we're asking that the board ratify the interlocal agreement that was approved by the county at this time.
Board of Trustees?
I would make a motion that we ratify the interlocal agreement with the county as presented.
That's, Mr. Mino made a motion. Need a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on this motion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
No, so it'd be a 3-1. Motion passes.
And Mr. Chair, if I may point out to those who have been following but weren't aware, the resolution rescinding the referendum election from the November 3rd ballot was considered by the commission on September 3rd, and that resolution was passed by the county, and the ballot language has been removed by the supervisor of elections as well.
Thank you, Mr. Revenger. Second is a discussion of engaging towing service on enforced no parking on common areas. I did bring that up at the last meeting, and also now I have John discuss it a little bit, and then we'll have a discussion on it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Trustees, residents gathered at home. Based upon direction from this board in June, Mr. Armington contacted several towing services. The only responsive one was Collinson Automotive, Inc., that basically gave us the cost proposal of approximately $38 for each parking sign and pole. zero cost to BBRD for when we would call a vehicle to be towed and they get on property and tow the vehicle. The owner of the vehicle would pay Collinson Automotive to get their vehicle back. But because of probably the density and location of Barefoot Bay, they wanted a $80 fee if we called them, and when they get out here, the vehicle is no longer in the specific location. That is a workable solution. If the board wishes to proceed on this, we can bring back specific policy manual language, and we'd also need to request the trustees to specify where they want signs parked, because this has the potential to grow dramatically if it's sort of like the, and no offense to anyone out in the public watching, but you know, just as we've heard for weeks about pool users wanting this adjustment, that adjustment, I can see multiple people calling in wanting a sign placed here, a sign placed there, and you know, one gentleman's already suggested every 50 to 100 feet along the open space back of the shopping center to put signs. Mr. Armington researched this. Mr. Getz would be in charge of, you know, maintaining these poles, mowing around them. So we'll answer any questions you may have of us.
Board, any? I would.
Anybody going?
I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea, but I think that we need to be consistent if we're going to make a ruling for one of our common areas or one of our park areas. It needs to apply to all of our park areas. And then I think that, and I had talked to John earlier about this, on times that we have festivals and that, John explained to me that we could hood the signs like they do with parking meters when it's free parking. For the exceptions, so that it, for things like trunk or treat or things like that, when we are going to use the field and we know that there is going to be parking on it. The idea of zero to Barefoot Bay and the $80 if they move the car, we know that it's kind of transit, and I'm going to say probably half of the cars are going to be moved by the time the towing company gets here.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's a good idea. I think we need to do this, and I think we need to expand it not only behind the old resident relations building, but to all the common areas. All the common areas.
What I was going to bring it at the last time, Rogers, behind the shopping center, up there by the pickleball, and especially when they play that, they bounce the ball off the wall where the guy drives right up to the gate. Luckily, he don't drive inside the gate and sit in the car and bounce the ball, because that irritates me. It shouldn't be. I don't believe in driving on the common ground. Even somebody goes fishing, they drive right up to the lake there. So none of that should be allowed on the common areas too. And then I noticed just this past week up on the big area there, by Building A and everything, and the administrative building, where somebody drove the vehicle up to one of the exercise places there, and he was doing his exercise and was driving the car and drove it right there. So I like to see all that area where they do not go park these vehicles.
Well, even on Chairman, even on East, as you go off the boulevard onto East, that area there before you get to Egret can be a problem as well.
I understand that too, and the only thing I've noticed is up at Sebastian Road, off of Sebastian Road, that little park in the back there, I don't hardly ever see anybody parking there. I think there's a couple of signs there. I guess somebody put them up or so, but I don't see any problems there at all. And not like right here by off of Hawthorne or even out in the boulevard. But I agree with you. If we're going to do it, we do it the right way.
I also heard earlier about ticketing. The reality of that is we have no way of ticketing.
No, that's something that
it's. I mean, it would be a nice pre-warning, but we don't have any way to ticket and or collect for that.
Right.
Plus, I think that the county would not ticket on private property. John, do you know anything about that?
Well, technically, the land would be government property, but it would be very difficult. Years ago, we had 11 no parking signs around the circle in front of Building A, and when, the issue of people parking there illegally was an issue, and on multiple times, we would call and ask a deputy to come out, and it's each law enforcement officer has the discretion to write a ticket or make an arrest. And although we had 11 signs out there, the one deputy, I'll remember this very clearly, he said because the curb was not painted a fresh coat of yellow and we didn't have additional signs on the black wrought iron fence there, that he would not write the ticket because he did not think it would hold up in court if an elderly person was the recipient of the ticket. So, we can make a phone call, but it's up to the discretion of the deputy, and also, there's limited number of deputies in the area. So, I do think if you want to have enforced no parking, the towing is the most effective. It is going to create a backlash of the people who get towed because they're not going to be happy at the cost of redeeming their vehicle. But
it will stop the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It will. One or two cars towed, everybody will get the message, and the problem will probably resolve itself quickly.
I don't think this is a bad idea, but I sure don't think it's a great idea either. Just a couple questions. First of all, if we were to do something like this, are we going to give these, I know we're going to do a 30-day educational thing. Would we do some kind of a warning or just have the car towed?
There's a couple ways of softening this. We could go out with our DOR of officers and place something on the windshield as a friendly warning. You could also consider having a special permit exception to it, to where I don't think he fishes anymore, but several years ago there was a gentleman who could not walk very well, and he would drive his pickup truck straight off of the boulevard as you come in off US 1, right down by the lake. And this was back in 2015 when this was a big issue. And one day I came into work, my wife had fixed me a hearty breakfast, I saw a vehicle there, I drove right down there, get out and talk to him, and my mouth started working before my eyes saw how hard it was for him to walk, and I apologized for the next 15 minutes. So I think there probably are some hardship cases of people who want to fish, but most people who are parking in the areas that Chairman Klosky has talked about are just doing it to cut corners or for convenience.
Well, I guess that brings up the one of the other points I had here then is who determines when something is going to be towed? Are we going to have, you listen to some of the audience participation we get in the calls and the letters and emails we all get, are we going to have people calling in and saying, hey, my neighbor's got a car out there, you guys get this thing out of there, get it towed? How is this going to happen? Who's going to determine that?
And that's one of the reasons I stated I wanted the board to basically agree on the map of where the signs were, because if we put a sign someplace and say by the handball court, and a neighbor calls and says there's a car there, I'm going to have someone or myself go verify it, sight on, because we're not going to waste $80 on a phone call that could be fictitious, and we're going to enforce it every time we're aware there's a vehicle there. Okay. Mm-hmm. And like I say, there's going to be some, sympathetic people who get their vehicles towed who are going to get caught up on this, but it's very important to have the fewest number of no parking signs as we can tolerate, in my opinion, because I would imagine the people who live across the street from the handball court will have either my email or a phone or Matt's phone on the old way of saying speed dial, and every time they see somebody there, they're going to call us, and we have staff here 7 days a week,
Yeah.
and we will pull the trigger every time we can verify.
I guess the concern I have just is that we'll put this up, we'll do a little education, and people will probably get the idea, and then all of a sudden, let's just take this area. I don't even know where you're going to put all these, but let's say the area out here next to the golf course. So all of a sudden, someone comes to visit someone there. They come in at night or in the daytime or something. They come to visit, grandchildren, whatever. They got all of a sudden their car's over across the street. Someone, the neighbor, calls you, calls someone else. Boom, they go out there. Yeah, it's there, and it's towed away, and they're sitting there saying, "What the hell has happened here?" I guess I'm that part of it. I'm not happy with. I'm not excited to see that kind of thing happening. Also, this is only cars, right, or automobiles. This is not golf carts. We're only talking automobiles, correct?
Yeah, roadworthy, not golf carts.
Not golf carts.
And I was going to say the other thing to add to that is there's a seasonal issue of when snowbirds or seasonal residents come back. We would probably the first winter season try to find the person before automatically towing, but
That's good, yeah.
the more signs you have, the more likely the grandson or
Right.
something's going to pop up.
And you, the other question was, do you have any idea, the areas you're all talking about, do you have any idea the number of signs you're talking? I mean, are we talking 5, 10, 100? I mean, we don't know that yet,
We didn't
which is
figure
fine
that
if you
one
don't.
out.
I think what I've heard, you could be looking at 30 to 50 or more signs, and that's
At
my
$37 a sign?
and that's, well, you see, I don't see the $38 sign as the issue. I see the $80 cost of when we get a phone
Right.
call and the towing service is out doing something else and they show up 3 hours later, the car's gone.
And we pay the $80.
We pay the $80.
And so I guess that was the last point I had. So there's no retainer with this company. It's simply $80 if they show up and the vehicle is gone. Yeah, I guess I'm not against this, but I'm not excited about it either.
Mr. Coffey, could that be a point of negotiation with the tow company that says, if you're going to charge us this $80, then you need to be there in 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever to tow the vehicle?
We can re-engage them. Probably 20, 30 minutes is not realistic because this is probably a company that's out doing AAA towing that the last time I had to have a tow for a vehicle, I waited an hour and a half for the person to arrive. But we can re-engage them. We could see if there's a way of structuring this cost differently, maybe have a maximum response time where it doesn't happen. The fact that what we're doing tonight is public on the internet, this person, Mr. Collinson, is going to probably quickly understand he's the only person interested in doing this, and our position of negotiation strength becomes very weak at that point.
So what are we doing right now? We're not, this would have to be a change in policy, or is this, what are we doing right now tonight? You're just asking, should you look into it further?
Asking you, we got this, this was originally on the September 11th agenda that got canceled. Mr. Armington was able to get the information towards the end of the preparation cycle. So instead of kicking it to this meeting, I put it on this way because I didn't have time to do the actual policy manual language. And I think the policy manual language is slightly premature before we understand the scope of the number of signs, because that's going to drive the cost of this. As you've talked about, we got $38 signs going in, and we have the potential of $80 every time we call. I know Mr. Getz is wincing out in the audience of remembering when he was just a building tech who would mow occasionally, and you're going straight with a 3-blade mower cutting a lot of grass, and now we're putting obstacles in multiple places that he has to slow down to go around, and second person has to stop by on a golf cart to weed eat or spray out. It's not anywhere near hiring additional people. It's just inch by inch adding another task.
Well, I guess if the rest of the board is in favor of going on and looking at this, I wouldn't be against it. So I just think there's some issues you have to look at, too.
John, I think that if we're going to look at this, and I mean seriously look at this, perhaps we should also come back with maybe a draft of what the specific criteria would look like if we do have somebody handicapped, like your gentleman with the truck fishing. That we could write some specific criteria for the exception, as well as having a protocol on calling for the tow, how long we'll wait for the tow, what that negotiation might look like maybe with the towing company, and have some kind of rollout so that we have a grace period where we have DOR give warnings for violations, because it probably wouldn't be fair to have an uninformed public and all of a sudden a sign, because if they park there at night, they might not see the sign. I've been towed in Boston for not seeing a sign. And it is not fun looking for your car at 3 in the morning.
Ryan, you want to make that form of motion and what you want the staff to do?
Yeah, I will. I'll make a motion that the staff put together a proposal for consideration that includes a protocol, a criteria, and location suggestion of signs.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
4-0.
4-0. I'm sorry. Thank you. Next is the phased reopening discussion. John?
You thought you were in November and you were trying to vote twice, right, Mr. Chairman? Phased reopening, this is something that we've talked previously, revisit every meeting. Since the last meeting we had, the state has lifted the ban on bars operating, and so they are now the ability to reopen at 50% indoor capacity or 100% of outdoor capacity without live music or entertainment. Subsequent to this agenda going out 7 days ago, specifically last Friday, which I emailed to each of you and put on the website for the public, we have proposals to expand the pool hours of 1 and 3 to have not perfectly uniform hours, but close to 3 to 4 hour slots that coincide with the proposal for the lounge takeout window to reopen from 4 to 8 each day. The 19th hole is recommended to remain closed till at least the next board meeting due to the recent outbreaks in the golfing community. The other recommendation, just to point out, I know it's been an issue with some folks, is pool 3, recommending to keep all the exercise groups there. When we developed this late last week, we were very hopeful the pool 2 pit project was going to roll right through. The roll was happening on I-95 with a piece of equipment, unfortunately. So with that being said, we still believe, and this was something that came from the pool supervisor, with feedback from her staff, with Mr. Getz and myself, that I support, is with the four corner blockade lifted now, while people who like Pool 3 and want to be there in the mornings are still going to be unhappy with us Monday through Friday, it does allow for the longer slots that people have asked for at Pool 1. Hopefully, by probably the end of October, Pool 2 is open, and we can take everything back, all the group exercises back to their original pool locations and hours. The downside of that is once we get into November, the pools start closing a little early as the daylight becomes less, because Pool 2 and 3 don't have lights, and so they have to close before dusk. If there's any specific questions, Mr. Getzer, I will try to answer them. Ms. Mendes is down at the lounge, which is closed for business, but we probably have a few folks down there watching this on simulcast, so if there was some question you had of her, I could get her on the phone.
Can we take this in pieces, I guess?
Yeah, I was going to ask the
Go
same
ahead,
thing.
yes.
Is that okay if we do that? Is it all right if I start here? I didn't mean to interrupt,
ahead.
Randy. Couple of things. First of all, I want to make sure, I brought an issue up at the last meeting, and we talked about the fact that we do not want to micromanage our staff and everything, and I absolutely agree to that. I also appreciate all the work that everyone has done, John, Mr. Coffey, and the staff, in coming up with this. However, we are still board members, and even though we agree to something as a consensus of all of us, if you look at a board member and you say, I agree to that, but I just think we're wrong. I think we're wrong on a couple of issues. I understand a lot of work went into this. I understand the reasons we do things, but I want to take the pool first. I truly believe that putting all of these exercise classes over to Pool 3 was a mistake. Especially this summer when we've had one of the hottest around, the 100-degree weather. And the way it is now, these people with Aqua, Zumba, whatever it is, they don't get in there until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I've had so many people call me, so many people write, so many people with little kids say, this is just wrong. I know we can go to Pool 1, but the reason we have 3 pools is so that you go to the pool in your area. So, and also, I'm not against any exercise group, but I've gone over to look at some of the exercise groups that things are taking place. And we have these blocks set up in the morning in Pool 3 all the way to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'll give you a couple examples. I go over to lap swim, and there are 4 people in the pool. 1 guy is swimming laps, 2 people are hanging on the edge of the pool talking, and 1 guy's sitting up in a lounge chair. But for that time period in the morning, they've got a private pool. Now, I'm not knocking them, but it's a private hour or so for those people. I've gone to exercise classes where 2 or 3 women are sitting up on lounge chairs, 2 or 3 or 4 are in the middle doing their arm thing with an instructor, and it's set up for that time frame for them, and we have a whole group of people who wait till 2 o'clock in the afternoon to get into the pool. I understand they need these things. I'm not knocking the exercise programs, but I truly believe one of these has to go to Pool 1. I don't care if it's Zumba. I don't care if it's a smaller group where you could even have some people come back in and share part of the pool with a small exercise groups that's in there. And if we can't control that, then there's something wrong with us and our staff. Or put Zumba there, put Zumba early in the morning. I truly believe that we are doing our residents an injustice by, in the hottest time of the year, they can't get in, not me, I don't go there, they can't get into that pool until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm asking that we change the exercise. I have no problem with your schedule here and what you're trying to do, but I would ask that we change this exercise schedule so that one of those exercise groups goes over to pool number 1. Now, I would love to have the board, what was the word we used at the last meeting? It wasn't consensus, it was, what was it, Randy? Consensus? Okay, is that what we said? I'd love to have the board have consensus to say fine, but if not, I would be happy to make a motion for that, just to even get it on the record.
Actually, which exercise group would you like to see go to the pool?
I don't care. Zumba was the last one to go in there. I'm just simply saying to wait until 2 o'clock in the afternoon to get into that pool is just not right.
Okay.
Well,
yet-
I believe that they had originally they had the aquatic exercise at Pool 1, didn't they? Didn't Carol Joseph
We
have
had
that
the lap
class?
swimmers over at pool.
Mr. Getz is getting up, but I believe historically the lap swimmers were at Pool 1 early in the morning. And then one of the exercise classes was later in the morning.
Yeah,
That
it
would be
was
Carol
lap swimming
Joseph's.
followed by the aquatic exercise.
So,
If you were wanting to move one of them, you would probably move the lap swimmers back, and that would reduce the first slot or possibly make the first and second slots less time. We really would like to keep the 4 to 8 slot at Pool 1 because that corresponds with the lounge proposal. If you are agreed to that, we really prefer not to tell people on one side of a dotted line you have to get out to sanitize and the other people can stay seated, because you've heard from some of our residents what they think of our current plan. But we're open to whatever you like. I've seen a lot of different things with pools and exercise groups, and I'm willing to try anything. I just know we're going to have somebody complaining about whatever we do tonight.
well, my thought would be whatever we move, let's move toward normal, whatever normal is for us anymore. So if we've had the lap swimmers there, maybe we could move them back into their normal routine at their normal place. And then if we needed to move something else, we'd move the exercise back into their normal routine. I think the homeowners are a little bit more used to that, and that would be kind of get their normal flow going back. So if
And
we
so if you
do,
move
if
the
we
lap
do,
swimmers, then you would just move the rest of them all the way down. Is that what we could do?
well, they originally were at Pool 1,
Right,
Mike.
right.
So all I'm saying is that if they were originally there and they can go back to it, it's a lot more like the old original schedule.
Well, what I'm saying is, so if you move the lap swimmers, then hydrotherapy would go down to the 9 o'clock slot. So we'd get people, so we get them out of there, end it at 12:30 like it was before Zumba was added, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. However they want to
Yeah, right.
do that. You're probably going to have somebody try to bite you when you move their classes, but
Well, the point is, though, is that we are trying to appease everyone.
Yes.
We're trying to get a system that's fair, and I know people are going to be mad, and the lap swimmers will yell, "Oh no, you didn't do this," and people will say they're against the exercise. We're not. I was all for this. I voted for this, or I consented to all of this. I just think, and even now with more people coming back down, we just have to get that pool opened up earlier rather than 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
well, and I think that if that's our consensus, and I know that we all trust the staff to do accordingly what you guys need to do.
Would the board like to have 2 of them at pool, pool 3 and 2 at pool 1, or how? Because I know the laps.
I'm not trying to get hate letters now,
I
so
know.
I don't want to
I
go
know,
too
yeah.
far.
Well, I
I'm
think-
just simply saying when Zumba came on there, all of a sudden people can't get in that pool until 2 o'clock. If we can get it back to where they can even get in at 12:30, I'd be very happy with that. I think we're doing them a little bit of a service.
And I think, Joe, really what we're saying is let's free up some time, spread it over to Pool 1, and we'll leave the details up to staff.
Yes.
I'd be happy with that.
Rather than, I don't think that we want to hash out what the details are, because that's not my ballywick.
So are you going to let staff choose? Well, are you going to let staff choose on which one to put over pool 1?
Yeah, I think that they'll use
We
good
don't care.
discretion, yeah.
We don't care.
Okay, so you got that result. Go ahead. Okay, what's the next?
I guess my question is that a consensus that we agree to that? Okay.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Roger?
Yes, I do. I agree.
Okay, and I will. The
Okay,
rest
so
of this,
let's go to, okay, next one?
I agree with all of the rest of these things, by the way, and I think that and I'll be done in a minute. I think your idea of opening the window and keeping the 19th hole, even though I'm going to get a lot of stack on that, I agree because of the information that Randy sent out and the things we have about the COVID and the number and all of that, and because I'm around some of these places and I just don't think we're doing some of the things that we should do to social distance as much as we should, et cetera. I think your proposal is good. However, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you're going to
My
say.
however is, as I look back, I feel bad now that I said the last meeting when I suggested that we go to 6 or 12-minute tee times. As I went back and looked at it, there's absolutely no reason, safety or any other reason, why we would keep at 16-minute tee time. For instance, if we could go down not 8 minutes, forget ever going to 8-minute tee times. 12-minute tee times would still allow at least 4 more groups of people to tee off and to play golf in a 5-hour session. We have more people coming down. What do we call them? Snowbirds are coming down, and more people are going to come down and want to play. And right now, the way it is, and we're concerned about people getting together, and we want to spread the tee times apart so they don't get together. But what happens right now is all of these people go out and play golf, and they're spread apart, and then they end up at the end of the round, and they go and sit in their golf carts and have to wait for an hour and a half sometime to an hour and 45 minutes for everybody to come in. So they're not dispersing, they're not going anywhere, they're sitting around for even a longer amount of time because they have to wait to see who won, they pay out the monies, they do all those things. 12-minute tee times would simply get everybody out of there quicker. They wouldn't have to spend as much time sitting around in their golf carts waiting, and you would add actually at least from 4 to 5 more tee times, let's say in a 5.5 hour period. So again, I would ask this board to consent to changing these tee times to 12 minutes. We have enough carts. If it got to the point where we didn't have carts, we could change things. But right now, there really is absolutely no good reason. It's not that they go into pro shop, because most everyone who plays are members. They don't even, when we go to play golf, we don't even go in the pro shop. You just show up and they have a list outside and you go and tee off and go. All we would be doing would be going 4 minutes earlier each group. Only the people going to pro shop are people who pay, and I'm not sure how many, so I can't say there are very few, but everybody I know is a member who plays in all the groups that we play in. So again, I'm asking the board to consider a consensus of the board to change to 12-minute tee times. And again, if not, I would make a motion to that effect if it needed.
Well, I think if I read what I got from Ernie, that he would like not to see any changes made yet.
I understand Ernie wouldn't, but again, we're the BOT.
But then don't forget with the stuff with when we had the last couple of weeks here at the pro shop and everything with the positive thing and everything.
But changing the tee time doesn't change that one bit. That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it. You're actually, with the tee times the way we have them now, you're putting people together for a longer period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a golfer, but I really don't see why a 12-minute tee time is less safe than an 8-minute tee time. I don't think it's the tee times that's the issue at the golf course.
The tee time is not the issue. You're exactly right.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't see how that's has an impact on what we've seen at the golf in the golf community in the past couple of weeks.
If all the people were showing up there in a group of 40 people standing around, that is an issue, and we don't allow them to do that.
But you're saying the shorter tee times is resulting in more people standing around at the end of their game.
No, right now, let's say you have 35 people, 34 people who play in these groups. The first groups go out, they go and they sit around in their carts waiting for the last group to come. When you're on 16-minute tee times, they're sitting there for a long time. Get them down to 12 and they all get out of there.
I said
earlier.
it backwards. The longer tee time is resulting in
Exactly.
the people being together for a longer period at the end of the
Exactly.
rounds.
And we're not chasing them away. They sit out in their carts out towards the parking lot, but all this would simply do is get them going quicker, get them in, get them done, and get them out of there.
I mean, that makes sense to me. I mean, if the staff is okay with it, I certainly would support it.
I know there's a letter in here from Ernie, and he doesn't agree with that, and there are some things in there, but I don't agree with that, and I'm looking for consent to move this down to 12 minutes.
Well, I would just probably go, I myself, for another 2 weeks or the end of this month, and at the next board meeting, discuss going on the shorter tee times or whatever the thing there. Like I said, I'm not a golfer and everything, so I don't know, but I'm just trying to keep what the staff is recommending and everything till right now. And the other one is, even at the lounge, I'm a little leery on even walk-up windows opening that as of right now. Wait till the next thing there, but that's my opinion, just solely my opinion. I don't just don't
Well,
want
again,
to
if necessary, I will make a motion that we change tee times from 16 minutes to 12 minutes at the golf course.
And I'll second it.
Okay, so that you're making a motion just on the tee time itself.
Just tee times I'm talking about.
All right, so any other discussion on this motion? Hearing no, I want a voice vote from everyone. Randy?
Well, Mike makes a lot of really good points there. I do want to mention that we have had 39 total cases in the Bay. You know, I hear all these numbers, 28. We've had 39 that came from one testing site, and I know that people aren't testing at just one testing site. So there are several cases in the Bay. We've had 20 out of the 39 that we've had in the Bay. 24 of those were in September alone. And I got to say, they aren't all golfers. So, you know, there's a feeling out there that all of this happens at the golf course. Well, it might, but it probably happens at the pool. It probably happens at any sing-alongs. It probably happens at people's houses, at the Moose, at the Oreos. It's not. You know, we got to stop blaming location. And what Mike says about them gathering and having to wait for everybody to come in, I can see where that gives them greater exposure. So if we can disperse that gathering time by lowering the tee times, then I have to agree with them. So I'm going to have to say yes.
Roger?
Yes.
Mr. Mino?
Yes.
Okay, I'll say no, so it's 3-1. That motion passes. So good thing there. Now, the next one is, I'd like to see the next one is talking about the opening the lounge window and everything, so I like a motion on that.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to discuss it. I think we're going to have homeowners that are comfortable with that and homeowners that are not comfortable with that. The benefits that I see in that, personally, in my opinion, is you're going to have having the window open, less exposure for staff. Staff is my main concern. Homeowners by this time, I mean, we're several months in, homeowners by this time have figured out whether they're going to be safe or whether they're not going to be safe, or whether they believe in wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. That's just going to happen. We can't control it. I've said that before. I'll say it again. But what we do have to control is the safety of the staff. Staff would be very safe with just the window open. We would have disposable cups only because it's poolside. That means that there wouldn't be an exchange of handing the glasses back and forth. So I see a lot of safety measures there that are above and beyond and perfect for that scenario.
Is the question, so are these, with the window open only, maybe I'm missing it in here, are we saying that our staff would be more safe and secure?
I believe so, because you wouldn't have people congregating at the
Right,
bar, either
right.
sitting there or standing there waiting for another drink to be served in an enclosed building.
John, and when they do that, they would be, where would they be, say, out where the picnic area is? That's it, or would they have a place where they can, or any place to go?
Basically proposed three areas. The picnic area would have some tables removed and some plastic tables and chairs put there, a few tables back of the lounge, and a few tables and chairs in the smoking pit. But those tables there basically would max out at about 52 people.
Okay. And that one,
I'm fine with the two recommendations in the report.
Roger?
I'm also in favor of staff's recommendations.
Okay, again, it's still a little leery on it and everything, but, okay, we're gonna have a vote on it, voice vote again. Randy? There is
Yes.
a motion made on it, so there was a second, so let's go on, vote. Randy?
Yes.
Yes.
Roger? Mr. Minor?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a 3-1 vote to go for it. And if I was to go to swimming there, you want, the staff is gonna come up with, to have the lap swimmers to go?
That's absolutely, that's
Okay.
staff. We're not going to micromanage, no.
And
Is there-
I'm in favor of the extended hours as well as the extended
Oh,
times.
by the way, I am too, yes, the extended hours, absolutely. Great job.
Yes.
Do we need a motion on that, on the pool thing as, no, okay,
No.
fine, okay.
Okay, anything else? We're all
Right.
done with that? Okay, thank you very much, trustees. On new business, we will go
We
to...
did we discuss the 19th? Or is it just,
Just a thing, we're not gonna...
That we're not gonna open.
We're not gonna
I thought we
open that
accepted
anything.
both
Yep, yep,
recommendations,
that's fine.
both
Yeah.
recommendations.
Okay, and new business, the DOR violation, case 19005060820 Wren Circle. Mr. Armington?
Rich Armington, Resident Relations Manager. Violation of Article 2, Section 5, unapproved fence. Case was opened 12/7/2019. 12 inspections have been performed on this property. 15 pictures have been taken, 4 are attached. Staff has signed affidavit of notices and attached 1 picture. Statement of violation has been sent. Property is under social membership suspension. Property was found in violation by the Violations Committee on February 12, 2020. Respondent was notified by first-class mail, certified mail, and property has been posted. Staff recommends that the BOT refer this violation to General Counsel Repinger for legal action, equitable or other appropriate action with failure to comply. If the BOT brings any such action to enforce the DOR, the charge for such action shall be charged to the respondent's account and shall constitute as a lien.
The chairman had to make a pit stop.
I see that.
Do we need a motion to accept that?
Yeah, motion.
I'm Vice Chair, can we have a
Do we-
motion to
Do we
accept
need to
that?
ask if there's anybody online that wants to, if the homeowner's online?
I rescind your seat back to you. I was going to take it over for a minute.
I was hoping you would have, that's okay.
Welcome to AT&T teleconference service. Please enter your access code. To join the conference as the host, press star. Please enter your host password. Please enter your billing identifier followed by the pound sign. You entered 11109. To accept, press 1. Otherwise, press. There are 1 participants on the call, including you. You are joining your conference as the host.
Nobody's
For a
in?
menu of available commands, press star pound.
Okay, then. Okay. I need a motion on this.
I'll make a motion that we refer this violation to General Counsel Repinger for legal action, equitable, and other appropriate action with failure to comply.
Roger made a motion. Any second?
I'll second.
Randy seconded. Any discussion on this motion?
Did we, I know we opened the line. Was it clear that there's nobody there?
We were the only one.
Gotcha.
The only one, yeah. Okay, any discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Next is the general liability and workman's compensation insurance renewal. John?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Last year, the board awarded, re-awarded our general liability workers' comp insurance to Florida Municipal Insurance Trust, which gave us a 2-year rate guarantee. I'd like to point out that our modifier held steady at 0.76, which in workers' comp lingo, 1.0 is average. You'll see 2015, we were paying double the amount normal for workers' comp insurance, and for a second year straight, we're paying 24% less than normal. I'd like to acknowledge all the department managers who work to maintain a safe environment. The budget, the quote came back slightly less than the budget, and that was due to our forecast of increasing valuation of property while the rate remains the same. Staff recommends the board authorize the renewal of the liability and workers' comp insurance with Florida Municipal Insurance Trust for $156,338, which includes a third-party liquor liability insurance clause.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I would make the motion that we renew the liability and workers' compensation insurance coverage, the Florida Municipal Insurance for the 147,632, plus the liquor liability insurance.
Motion made, Mr. Mino. Second.
I'll second.
Randy made it second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is the revised policy manual. Go ahead, John.
Yes, on August 19th, the BOT NRP subcommittee voted 2-0 to recommend the BOT remove the word target from page 17 of the policy manual. That is shown up on the screen and in your agenda packet. This word right here is proposed to be taken out. There is a resolution for Mr. Reppinger to read the title. Staff recommends the board adopt Resolution 2020-12 revising the policy manual as attached.
Resolution 2020-12, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Barefoot Bay Recreation District providing for the adoption of a revision to the policy manual adopted May 8th, 2009, as subsequently amended through February 25th, 2020, providing for conflicts and providing an effective date.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the resolution as read.
I'll
Roger made a
second.
motion. Second.
I would second that.
Mr. Mino made a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next, in the expansion of employees' COVID-19 policy. John?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As most folks know, you just turn the TV on and the news changes on a daily basis with this pandemic. On July 16th, 2020, the board approved the employee COVID policy, which addressed workplace protection, safety and health, employee protection, employee reporting requirements. Due to repeated shutdowns within the last month, some employees have exceeded their federal limits of pay, which is slightly convoluted, but it comes out to 2 weeks of what the average work is for most employees. With this, knowing that this was coming, I sent this out to y'all last last cycle, stating that I had, due to the fact that some employees were going to run out of pay, administratively added this to the COVID policy, requesting that you would confirm this going forward. Therefore, recommend that you confirm the expansion of the COVID policy. I go to the memo that went to the employees that basically explains that this is posted to where all employees see, is that it does two things. It makes the employees aware that if they have a workplace exposure, they will get a maximum of 3 days admin pay if they exceed their federal pay, assuming no more than 3 days to get their test if they go to our preferred testing site. If our preferred testing site takes longer than 3 days, they will be paid as long as it takes to get a negative result back. If they want to go to a different provider who has a test that takes longer to return, we will pay them a maximum 3 days, because we have had a couple employees think they were back on the dairy farm and trying to milk the time off that we were paying them. Additionally, this notice provides that employees who test positive will be provided 2 weeks of their normal schedule once they exceed their federal pay, as long as they're out waiting on a negative test. What this does not apply to is if an employee notifies us that they believe they have COVID from a private exposure, or they go and get tested privately and not work-related. That goes back to their own accruals and sick time. If an employee, especially a part-time employee, were in that situation and they exhausted their pay, we would hold their job for them. No one will lose a job for being out for COVID testing or quarantining. I request that you confirm my actions, and Mr. Armington and I can answer any questions you may have.
Hey, Randy, you got a thing from Shaw's Medical. You want to? Would you want to discuss that too? Put it, because he's got some good points in here.
Yeah, he does. Everybody's got it.
Yes, I understand
We've got
that.
the cumulative totals, and then they did some recommendations, and I think John is pretty much following all of those anyway. And basically, their recommendations are the same recommendations that came from the CDC. So it's really, I don't see anything different in here or anything that is unique to Barefoot Bay. I would like to say, though, that any of the residents or anybody that feels that they want to take a COVID test or need to take a COVID test, Shaw Medical is giving those, and there is no cost of any kind to any resident or any employee that goes and gets this test, and you'll get your test back.
Right. I understand. He also did. I talked to him today, and he did say that he's willing to come and give any employee here a test and everything, which would not make him to miss a day's work or anything like that too. So he's willing to do that stuff too, or even test anybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to make a motion to accept this, but I just want to say also, I think this is another example. I mean, I had a lot of employees in my life, a lot of people. I think this is a good example of our administration, again, looking out the best we can for our employees.
And of course, this person that this guy here,
I dealt with 5 unions almost my entire life, and that's not the same thing as we're doing here. And I think this is a very positive thing that John and his staff, the administration, is looking out for our employees. So,
and of course,
I would make a motion to confirm the expansion of the Barefoot Bay Recreation District employee COVID-19 policy as read and as attached.
Yeah, I would second that.
Okay. Any other discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, the next one is the Violation Committee appointment. And John, go ahead.
Within the last few weeks, we've had 2 resignations of voting members from the Violations Committee, Mr. Al Gruno and Miss M. Joy Liddy. As is our custom, when voting members resign, alternate members are brought to the board for appointment to the vacant voting members. The 2 alternate members who were appointed to their positions are Mr. David Wheaton and Mr. Harold Brinker. Therefore, staff recommends the BOT appoint Mr. Wheaton and Mr. Brinker to the vacant voting member positions for a 3-year term. If appointed, staff will then advertise the vacant alternate positions and bring them back once resumes or letter of interest are received.
Motion to appoint.
I'm sorry, what are you looking?
I need a motion to appoint him.
We are going to act on this tonight? We are going to
Yes.
appoint? For discussion, I'll make a motion, we approve the recommendation of staff.
I can second it. Any discussion on this motion?
I will abstain.
Okay, there is a motion made.
Yeah,
I
just
need
for
a-
discussion's sake, I don't really have a problem with Mr. Wheaton serving on the committee. I'm not sure. Mr. Brinker is currently serving on the art committee. Is that correct?
Yes, he is.
So are we that short on volunteers in the Bay that we have to have people doubling up on committees?
Well,
would
and-
it not be advantageous to go out and try to find somebody new and bring them into that?
It was advertised, but nobody's putting anything. Nobody has put anything, so that's why he volunteered. He put his pin in. Then same with Mr. Whedon. So it was open, and nobody even put in for it. So you can ask Mr. Armington or even John, and there was no.
Technically, in January, it had been open for a while, and we had 4 applicants, Tom O'Donnell, a former employee, Mr. Wheaton, a former trustee, Mr. Brinker, who was on the art committee, and former member of the defunct finance committee, and Paul Preston, who doesn't need any more accolades than just his name.
And I will say that Mr. Brinker does a great job as on the art on the ARCC. He doesn't check out everything, and he's well informed with before he discuss everything.
Yeah,
The
and
same thing with
I'm not
everything
questioning.
else. So
I'm
that's all
not
I've-
questioning
and
his
then-
service on that committee. I'm only questioning. You mentioned a couple of people, Tom O'Donnell for one, who's
Well,
actually.
okay, but there wasn't when we did at the time when we did vote on it. The board did pick who they want voted on it. So that's how that happened. I know Tom O'Donnell, a few other ones. There
If
wasn't.
someone is on, for instance, Mr. Brinker is running for the BOT, if he were to be elected, would that change that
He
assignment
would have to
then?
leave that position.
That would change that, correct?
Yes.
If he wins, I assume it's, Mr. Reppinger could clarify, I assume it's before his taking the oath of office, he'd have to resign from the advisory committees.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a dual office holding provision in the Florida Constitution that I think would apply to the trustee serving. It's an interesting question because we've never looked at dual office holding with regard to appointed committees. Normally, appointed boards, there is some carryover at the municipal and county level to dual office holding. So it's something I didn't anticipate looking at before tonight. I don't know if the board is interested in having me look at that. I'd be glad to look at to see whether there's a dual office holding provision problem if he's holding the ARC position in addition to
Yeah,
the
I
violation
would
committee.
recommend that we approve Mr. Wheaton to take the position, and that we hold off on the other until council has a chance to take a look at it. and maybe go back and consider a couple of those people who had applied that we overlooked?
Well, first of all, we have a motion and a second on the floor, so we have to deal with that.
Can amend it
You can amend it.
Well,
if you want to.
and I'm not opposed to what Roger is trying to do either. I don't have a. I understand exactly your points. I do, but I don't have a reason not to say either one of these people should be on there, other than the fact that if one was elected to the board.
He would probably have to move.
To go to your point, I would have no problem amending the resolution, appointing one, waiting until the election is over for the other, but I would not be in favor of appointing or looking for someone else in the meantime. I would rather have an up and down vote on the motion. So does that make any sense? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're changing your motion.
I would be
or if
happy to
you're taking
change the
one-
motion to say, let's appoint Mr. Wheaton and hold off on Mr. Brinker till we see if he wins the election, but I would not want to change the motion to say, hold off on him to see if he wins, but we put somebody else in the meantime.
I understand.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of that.
So your motion is,
So I'm not sure if that helps your issue or not, Roger,
Well, I mean, I suppose it does to some extent. Again, I'm interested in bringing in additional people who want to take part in the community without duplicating and having the same person.
And I agree
doing
with
the
you. I
same.
understand your point, but again, we only had those people here, and they were recommended to be on there. So I think if we don't change it the way I said, I think they deserve a vote, either yes or no.
so you didn't make a
Do you understand? I'm just trying
I
to
understand what
be
you're saying,
politically
yes.
correct here and do things the way it should be done as a board.
Okay, Mr. Repinger?
I don't have anything to say about. I mean, if you want to vote on the motion the way that it is, that's fine. I mean, if we're not amending it, then there's nothing to really.
I'd be happy to amend my motion to approve Mr. Wheaton and to wait on Mr. Brinker to see whether or not he wins the election. And at that time, we could then vote again. But I guess that would be as far as I would go in amending it. And I'm not sure, does that satisfy what we need?
Yes,
for
I'll
the-
second that. I'll second that amended motion.
Okay, so there is a motion made on the floor and a second. Any other discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
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 Rand?
I abstain.
I vote yes, so it'd be 3-1. One of 3 and 1 abstain. Motion passes. Thank you.
And
3-0. Well, 3.
2 to 2.
3 in
2 to
favor.
1.
Oh, it was 2-1.
2
Wait.
to 1.
That motion.
No, he voted with us.
I would, Randy abstained from
I'm
it,
sorry.
so
I
that's
thought
3 to
you were-
1.
3 aye, 1 abstention.
Yeah, 1.
That's it.
And Mr. Repinger, could you look up that dual service in the meantime?
We can look at that. Yep.
And I guess, just as a final comment, if things change between now and then, that's fine. We can address those things at that time with the second appointment. But,
Okay, thank you. Now we go into the manager's report. John?
Yes. Finance Manager Henley reports one-time revenues of $2,112 refund from the liquor liability insurance due to our COVID shutdown, and also $750 proceeds from the auction of miscellaneous Building A surplus items. We have filed a claim for approximately $3,500 to the loss of food supplies when there was an inadvertent lapse in power to a refrigeration unit in Building A. ARC history on the meeting on the 1st of September, there were 16 consent items approved, 14 others, 11 approved, 3 were denied. We had a cancellation of a workshop. On the 15th, due to lack of quorum, the chairman reviewed and approved permits of one old business, 15 consent approved 11 other items, 4 approved, 7 with stipulations. The ARC meeting scheduled for the 29th has had 2 old business items. These are going to be closed instead of being heard. 13 consent items, 3 items. The violations committee on the 28th of August was canceled. So was the meeting on the 11th of September. We have 24 cases on the agenda for this Friday. 37 homes were sold in Barefoot Bay in August, with 56 new homeowners receiving their badges. Golf course update, still seeking additional vendors. Some of them are out of the office doing field work at this time. Golf membership sign-up is beginning October 1. This year it'll be done by appointment only, as I've notified you due to COVID concerns. Property services, been a busy month since we last had a meeting. The miniature golf project is completed, with the exception of a couple garbage cans and the rules sign, although the rules are on the back of the scorecards. Continued cleaning along stormwater canals, replaced burned out lights, shuffleboard, broken gates at the softball field, maintenance on the DOR truck, trying to keep the potholes to a minimum at Pool 2. Clean in Pool 2 is where there's a grass parking area, so I don't like the word sinkhole, but some people may use that as just depressions. Gotten good at cleaning and disinfecting the pro shop due to COVID exposures. Replaced the AC system at RJ's 2002 restaurant. Emergency light in the D&E. Fire extinguisher expansions. Just going down the list. So we do need to go home some night. Some point tonight. One thing I will point out is enhancing our COVID cleaning. Mr. Getz found a disinfectant fogger at a relatively low price that helps make a more uniform application of sanitizer and cuts the time. Working on planning the projects for next year's schedule and our daily inspections and troubleshooting minor things with the Building A projects. A few key items this Thursday. Residents are encouraged to come out and listen to Mr. Klosky give one of his famous speeches, meet the artisan who built the structures and the course designer, and try out the fastest greens in the bay at the miniature golf course. The approved budget, comprehensive version, will be delivered to the trustees by the end of the month. Will be placed on BBRD, public copy for review at the administration building. Anybody who has insomnia can purchase a copy for $15 plus tax. Free paper copies of line items are available at the administration building. The Pool 2 pit project work started yesterday, and some poor soul driving a piece of equipment up from Port St. Lucie lost his load, and now we're going to be waiting for a new piece of equipment to be delivered. Beach walkover. We had very good news. The storm over the weekend took away about 2 to 3 feet of sand and then put it right back in a little higher. So right now there is no problem with the step off at the end of the walkover. Within a couple weeks it'll be back to the eroded. I am trying to schedule a site visit with the DEP field person about long-term solution. The beach probably has been shortened due to the impact of the storm. As previously emailed to y'all before the September 11th, we have a little backlog of employees waiting to get their milestone awards. And assuming the governor is going to keep these meetings closed for a while, I'd like to allow them and their supervisor, possibly a loved one, to come in at the beginning of the December 4th meeting to receive their awards in Klosky cash. There's a rumor that the value's going up as the chairman is stepping down in a few months. Is that okay? All right, and that concludes my report.
So is that okay with the board to have him come here?
I think that'd be fine, yes.
Thank you.
I would.
Thank you very much. Okay, John. That's it, John? Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Reppinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to hit on, I know we kind of closed the issue, but on the referendum issue, as a just kind of a final note, you heard somebody ask a question tonight on the phone. They asked a question about winning or losing the war, I think was what the question kind of indicated, whether you had lost or won the war. And you know, you all are not professional politicians. None of you are. You do this. This is a volunteer position. This is about as local government, about as small local government as you get. And when you choose to run for this board, you probably don't think you're going to have to make one of the most difficult and impactful decisions in the history of the district. You certainly don't expect to have to make that decision in an unanticipated manner with extremely tight timeframes and very little information to go on. But I think it's really important that the community understand that you all understood how extremely detrimental that referendum question could have been to the district had it passed. And the decision that you made to adopt that interlocal agreement, it was courageous, it was bold, it was smart, and it was the right decision. And everybody who's watching, all of the residents, need to understand how important that was to do that. The ability for the district to be able to collect revenue is critical, and do so in the manner that it does so. So you really, you know, I at least sitting in this seat appreciated what the board did in passing that interlocal agreement. We were very fortunate time-wise that the county was able to review and get that referendum question off the ballot. And so it really was a good decision. As far as the future, you know, we're not entirely sure how the agreement does affect the district moving forward, but what I can tell you and what I mentioned is that the agreement does provide the ability to go before the county commission for unfunded mandates and critical needs and emergency needs that the county will be able to consider. And so you have left yourselves the ability. So the same person that asked that question about winning the war asked about whether the constitutional amendment on minimum wage were to pass, what would happen? Well, that we would clearly argue that is an unfunded mandate that we would then have to go to the commission for. So you know, although it is somewhat limiting as far as the agreement goes in a way that we haven't been before, we do have the ability to deal with issues that are unexpected expenditures. So that's in there. Everyone needs to understand that. And there's also the possibility of coming back and amending that agreement in the future. Of course, right now is not the time to talk about doing that, and we don't need to be doing that right now. But if a situation in the future arose where we felt like that agreement wasn't working for whatever reason, we always can go back to the county and ask them whether they're in agreement with amending that agreement. So it certainly was the right thing to do at the time that you did it. So you should definitely feel good about that. And with that being said, obviously that took a little bit of time the last month or so. And so my update to you on the DOR cases, which I keep putting off, is not quite ready yet. I am working on it. Next couple of days are free, so hopefully we'll get that out to you in the next couple of days. And once these cases move, they are moving. Once you see them start to move, they're going to move very quickly. So I think you'll be pleased with that. But that's all I have as an update for you tonight. So just look for that next couple of days.
So you, Mr. Redmond, you do believe you'll have quite a few of them cases resolved before I leave?
I will have a lot of the cases very well in pursuit of resolution by the time you leave.
Okay, so you're going to make me happy.
I'm going to make you happy. Make you
Okay.
very happy.
Thank you.
Cliff, and to your points too, I would just like to say that, you know, I'd like to thank you for all the work you did on that and all the phone calls and everything else that we went through there. And I don't really think it's even a matter of winning a war or the battle. It's a matter of deciding whether or not you get in a fight when you all of a sudden you know, I can't win that fight. And the battle, trying to win it even, is not going to be worth it. And I think this board realized pretty quickly that this was something we could not win, and we just had to get out of it. And I really do thank you and Mr. Coffey for all the phone calls and all the work you guys did trying to get us out of that.
It was a good team effort.
Thank
for
you.
Sure.
Incidental remarks. Randy.
I have none.
Okay. Roger.
I have nothing to add tonight.
Okay. Mr. Mino.
Two, I know. Two I have. One, I appreciate the support tonight on a couple of those issues. And again, in no way do I want the staff to think that we're trying to micromanage. And I hate that term. Number two, I had an interesting meeting about the golf course the other day with Rick and with Ernie. And Rick, of course, is our supervisor of greens and course manager and so forth and so on. And since the last March and February, rather, of when I proposed some greens, et cetera, to be redone, and the board voted that down because of some things that were said, the course has not shaped up a lot. However, this is not a negative thing. This is positive. I just want the people out there listening to know that Rick, our course, I guess it's our course superintendent he's called, if he works for ABM, the guy actually really does know what he's doing. He knows what should be done in this course. He is trying his damnedest, he's trying his hardest to get this thing back to where it should be. He understands why it's not where it should be. And I just am and it was a very good meeting between Rick and I and Ernie, and I really appreciated their input and the information they had. And I'm just asking people to give him some more time to solve some of the problems we have with the course to see if we can get it back.
That's it. Thank you. Okay. All I just want to say is I'd like to thank Matt and his staff for the hard work they've been doing since March till now to get updated on a lot of projects that couldn't get done during the regular season. I did say that numerous times, and I want to say it again. I also want to thank our new hiree that works here every so often on a Friday, doing yard work and maintenance work around the building and everything, and mowing grass. I appreciate that. And I want to thank Rich for all his hard work and everything, and even Attorney Reppinger. And the board of trustees here, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, you do what you think is right, and that's it. So I don't crucify nobody. Nobody wants to crucify me. We do the best we can, and that's it. And the next thing is the next meeting will be on October the 9th at 1 p.m. right here in Building D&E. And I thought we'd get this meeting done by 8 o'clock, but Roger, you're wrong. No, I'm wrong, and you were right. You thought I was going to get done early, but I made a mistake when I let that discuss on that thing. I should have put that into a agenda item, but we got it ironed out a little bit. So thank you very much, and everybody have a wonderful week, and have a good night.